It seemed like a bad parody of 90s cinema, whether it's
Yeah.
Hindi, whether it's South Indian.
What made him not quit was the fact that I told him that I watched it 3 times. He was pretty.
Hey LeisureMartians, this is Rohit Raina, and as promised, I am here to review Eega with my wife
Hi.
Shivangi. So, how did you overall like the film?
Um, it's a pretty nice movie based on the past life and revenge concept. We've seen many in Bollywood, but this was the first one from South India that I watched, and I watched it 3 times. And because I watched it 3 times, it itself it speaks how much I like the movie.
Right. So that's her verdict. I'll reserve my verdict for now. Uh, what do you think of the opening 30-35 minutes?
Very 90s. It makes you feel that it's a low budget film, but when it progresses you figure out what was the agenda and where the director wanted to spend his budget. And
Okay. Before you say rest, let me say
yeah.
about my feelings. The first opening 30 minutes for me personally were terrible. I was ready to quit the film right away because it seemed like a bad parody of 90s cinema, whether it's
Yeah.
Hindi, whether it's South Indian. The love story seemed very,
So what made him,
yeah.
go through? What made him not quit was the fact that I told him that I watched it 3 times. He was pretty confused.
Yes.
How have I watched Jiga before? I told him I watched Makkhi. So he was like, no, you must have watched Makkhi. I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I
there is a
watched
Hindi
Makkhi.
movie.
So, and I said that it's a very good movie. So that made him hang on to even those ridiculous according to him, ridiculous first half of the movie.
With not entirely the first half, but yeah, first 30 minutes. I was not invested in that love story at all, and it was cringe, to be honest. Even Kiccha Sudeep's role till that point was very cringe. He was a very one-dimensional villain in the first 30-40 minutes or so. But when that character dies, when Nani dies, sorry to say, I was so happy that they killed off that character, because that's when the movie took a really positive turn.
Right. And imagine how they have portrayed everything through the eyes of a small, minute insect. And we've seen, see, like we've seen Karan Arjun, where two human beings relive their past life and they take a revenge. But imagine what goes on in the brain of the director who's directing everything from the perspective of an insect. Like, you magnify everything 4 times. How a tiny matchstick can look like a sword to a Makkhi, or a fly, a house fly. So
Yeah.
that was amazing,
Yeah.
brilliant.
So to Shivangi's point, so the movie takes a complete U-turn. First half is like a combination of every cringe, every overused element in the romantic films of the 90s, of the 80s, and the 70s. And then after the first 40 minutes, we see something that we have never ever seen before. It was a revenge drama, but from the eyes of an insect, and the concept, it was unimaginable. I mean, we both love RRR, and RRR will remain the ultimate SS Rajamouli film for now, but Eega is in a completely different league of its own.
It's very intelligent, when you get to notice the minute details. They made the heroine, Bindu, a miniature artist, and that miniature artist, how it connects to a Makhi. It's so clever that miniature artist later on, when Nani became a Makhi, was making a entire house, pretty doll house, which could be a bungalow for that Makhi. It's so
Yes.
beautiful.
Oh, that was.
It all comes together so beautifully.
Yes, that was lovely. I loved that bit. That was really cute. That little dollhouse for Eega, for the Makkhi. It was beautiful.
Very clever. And my
What?
favorite
Yeah,
scene,
I
if
was
we
about to
talk
ask that.
about yeah, my favorite scene in the movie was when Bindu knows that the Makhi is Nani, and she goes to a cafe very happy, and she goes on sort of a date with the Makhi Nani, and she pours out 2-3 drops of coffee for him. That was one of my favorite cute scenes in the movie.
Yeah, I'll have to kind of agree with that. There are so many scenes where I was just my jaw dropped. It's difficult for me to point out one scene, maybe the final revenge scene when they finally managed to kill Sudeep, because up until that point I was like, okay, he is able to do so much harm to Sudeep, but how is he gonna kill? Because he was starting to outsmart. Sudeep was starting to outsmart Eega.
Exactly. And there's where that's what it shows. The movie is not just about graphics and the digital art, it's also about how the story has been spun. The minute details, like the filling of what you call barood in Hindi, that barood in the showpiece, when Makkhi fills it bit by bit and then puts in a ball bearing. That's when he knows that he's going to use it to kill the villain. So that's an amazing plot. And things like that, when he scratches the car and writes "I will kill you," where the connect is
Yeah.
established between Nani is actually Makkhi, when the villain realizes that he has come back to take the revenge. That
So
was extremely
that
engripping.
that was as hair raising moment for me as it must have been for that character. For that person it was a bad hair raising moment, but for me I was like, whoa, that is so badass. I will kill you. uh,
And imagine a Makkhi telling you that. I mean, anybody would have goosebumps if it happens in real life to them. They'd be left shocked, and the next thing they'd be doing is going to a psychiatrist to figure out if something is messed up in their head.
yeah, exactly. So how do you explain to a psychiatrist, how do you explain to your well-wishers, your fellow villains, that a Makhi is about to kill me, is trying to kill me? But to more credit, so with action movies or movies of such nature, there is often a complaint of movie fans, of true movie fans, that okay, there was great imagination, there was great action, great VFX, but the movie did not have soul. I did not connect with the character. And that's where SS Rajamouli separates himself from the rest, because every film I have seen of his, Magadera, Eega, RRR, Bahubali, you actually care for the characters. It's not just about the special effects. I was so happy. See, it could have been if someone else directed it. Let's say, I don't want to disrespect any filmmaker. Let's say anybody, any other lesser director, they would have, the revenge would not have seemed so sweet, so gratifying. I really hated Sudeep's character, and I really loved Nani. I really loved Bindu, but not all action films are able to create that connection between the audience and the characters, and that is why those action films are called soulless. I think the best example is the latest dinosaur film, Dominion. I was not able to connect to the characters. I did not care if they die. I wanted them to live on, but I it wouldn't have impacted me emotionally. But if he was not able to exact revenge, Eega, in this film against Sudeep, and if Sudeep eventually turned out to be the winner, it would have made me sad. And that's what separates SS Rajamouli from other action directors. If at all he's an action director, I think he blends all genres, so it would be unfair to call him an action director.
Right. So I don't have points like Rohit has. I have very different points from the movies, just small bits that I kind of picked up. Like, how could probably have Makkhi come into the making? If you've ever closely watched a housefly, it usually does this when it's about to fly or sit somewhere. So if the director is closely watching houseflies at his home, he would probably get the idea that probably this one's here to take some kind of a revenge. So I guess that's where the whole story would have started from.
So that was also a badass moment. Every time he does it, he has to screw Sudeep up. He does this. That was a great moment. That's a great call out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else stood out for you?
I guess the whole movie's concept, it's a league apart. Nobody would
Exactly.
have, people could. A lot of people have made movie on past life, but getting it to this point is in itself a huge and a commendable job, I would say. Nobody else. I've never watched a movie with insects taking revenge. I watched the Disney kinds where there are insects chatting with each other, but this movie, the insect did not speak even a single word.
Exactly.
It only communicated through whatever objects, like when Bindu was there, and she could see in the microscope that he's scratching out words and saying, "I'm Nani." So that was the only way a
Yeah,
Makkhi could
he
communicate.
wrote. Yeah,
It
he
was
wrote
not
through her
an
tears.
animation. Yeah,
Yes.
it was not an animation, and still it was,
Yes.
we could feel that actually the
Yeah.
Makkhi is
Yeah,
real.
yeah. So unlike this is again another point which separates it from other films. The Makkhi was not speaking to a human in human language,
Yes.
so it was not that animation. It had every limitation that a Makkhi would, even though obviously it's exaggerated because it's that genre, but it could not speak in human language. So that was amazing,
Yeah.
but still communicate. So I guess that's about it. Those are our thoughts. As you can easily make out, we loved this film a lot. If I had to rank the 4 films I have seen of Rajamouli, I won't rank them, but it's almost at par with RRR for me. Bahubali, I'm not really a big fan of, but we may review that film in near future. Magadira is there on the channel, so you can watch that review. But do you want to say something in closing?
If I were to rank it, I have a very clear sequence in my head. It would be RRR, Bahubali, Eega, and I've not watched the fourth one, so I can't rank it.
So that's about it from our end. That was Eager for you. Uh, okay, out of 5 or out of 10, how much you rate Eager? Out of 10,
8.5.
8.5. Uh,
I would say that because the first, if you don't
Yeah.
have the first part that's in gripping to most of the audience, then many would leave. And secondly, because it was made on a smaller scale, I mean, if it was on a bigger scale, probably more of graphics could have been incorporated in the movie. I'm not really sure if I am 100% accurate about what I'm thinking, but comparing it to RRR and Bahubali, if a little more budget would have been infused in the movie,
Right.
probably it would have turned out to be a bigger, cinematographically a bigger
Right.
movie. Nothing lacking in it as such, though.
Exactly the same thoughts as mine. I would rate it 8. I think the 2 points that I deduct, 1.8 out of those 2 are deducted for the first 40 minutes, which were a torture, and rest everything she said. If it was made in 2022 on a far bigger budget, it would have been something even more mind-boggling. But taking nothing away from howsoever the film was made in 2012, it's still a a mind-boggling piece, a thing of beauty, unimaginable concept, and executed very well, even with the low budget.
Right.
So that's about it. That's 8.5 from her, 8 from me, and I'll see you soon with the next video. Thank you. Introduction.